Hello, everybody. Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. It's the Sunday night show. I'm joined by Adam, Kev, and Beth. I hope you're all doing well. We'll get talking to you soon. But tonight we're going to be talking about everyone's opinion as a collective in relation to where we are as a club. Also, those Harry Maguire comments. We'll give the panel a bit of a chance to talk about that. Also, we're going to be talking about the Cup, obviously. I want to talk about James Garner a little bit as well. Is our best centre defensive midfielder playing in the Championship? And also, we're going to start off with this. I feel we should talk about it. It's about a bid from Zakaria, but the title of the show, I think, is something to do with Ronaldo and Rangnick. And, you know, we've heard a lot about Harry Maguire and other players, Rashford and Fred. The reality is that the big rumour is that it's Ralph Rangnick and it's Cristiano Ronaldo who they're not coming out speaking, doing statements and stuff like that. But behind the scenes, we should expect from two very experienced people in the game, they're absolutely focused and they're absolutely expecting a reaction from the players that have not been performing because it's their reputations on the line. And it is with Rangnick and it is with Ronaldo. So we'll talk about that. But let's just bring the sort of, I wouldn't say breaking news, but a bit of positive news because we all, I think, want a midfielder. There's a story coming out from Switzerland tonight, Adam, that Zakaria bid from Manchester United may well have gone in for 5 million. Now, a lot of people aren't believing the source. It's not great, although he is Swiss, the source and Zakaria. Yeah. And Romano himself did say last week, maybe keep an eye on that. £5 million, 25. He's had a knee injury. Is that the sort of player that we should be looking at Manchester United? I mean, I suppose it depends on, you know, can he run around? He probably does do a better job than McTominay and Fred, you know.
It's the way he just dropped that he's had a knee injury. And it's like, oh, God, no, not another one. It's one of the... like I said, I've done plenty of shows with Beth on the transfer market and talking about midfielders who we may possibly get. This would be sort of one that I thought would be doable in this transfer window. A player like this or this someone who is sort of under the radar, not a big name, workman-like. There's someone who's going to come in that Ralph knows he can get a job from. And Mönchengladbach, German League, you know what I mean? It's right up where we were thinking we was going to get a player from. I don't know enough about him. I know I think he's around mid-20s, tallish from what reports are saying. And I think Ralph's mentioned he likes that the physical side of things, and a robust midfielder in midfield who can pass a ball it would be muchly appreciated at this football club right now. For one, would like to see a midfielder be able to pass the ball more than 10 yards. I mean, it's not asking a lot, it isn't, but that's what we need, someone who can actually be combative and actually use the ball in midfield. It's hard, and it's going to be hard in January. I didn't expect any signings at all, to be honest. I thought it was going to be too difficult with the size of the squad and how we're struggling to get players out. The players that are sort of leaving at the moment on loan are sort of the ones that are not playing anyway, so it's not really an issue. Obviously, if Ethan Laird, Axel, players like this, and then we've rumoured that Ahmad is on his way to the Championship as well. So 5 million, I mean, it's not like it's get up out of bed and be really happy sort of transfer news, is it? But to be honest, if it works for Ralph, it works for me. And that's what I've said all along. If he thinks the player is good enough and can do a job for him to see us hopefully get into a decent position to start next season, with the rest of what's left of this season, then let's see what he can do. That's all I really know about him, though, to be honest. I don't know much more.
I feel like I've thrown you a bit of a bad question there because I actually do know quite a lot about Zakaria, and I could have said before I gave the question, this is what he does. But unfortunately, I've thrown you a bad pass there. Beth will get a better bit to it. I mean, look, people in the chat will know I'm not talking out my arse here. Sometimes I do. But I have spoken about Zakaria on this channel for probably 2-3 years, and I do like him. I probably liked him more as a 22-year-old than as a 25-year-old who's had a bad knee injury. But he is not a dud as much as people think because Liverpool are interested in him. As Adam said, and Romano said it as well, this is a player that Ralph Rangnick likes from the Bundesliga. And people say he's injury prone since his knee injury. He's not, you know, unless you're counting COVID as an injury. He's had COVID twice and a little bit of a knock since his knee injury. The question more is whether he's the same player since his injury. But I just think, Beth, for £6 million, if we don't buy, I don't think we're getting top four anyway. I certainly don't think we're getting top four if we don't get a midfielder in January. If it's that or nothing, I think he's probably well worth it. And you know, for 6 million quid and he's on 50 grand a week. I mean, he's on way less than Phil Jones. He's going to cost you 5 million quid. If it doesn't work out, it's a third of what we paid for Dan James, who didn't work out.
Exactly. And that's the thing with when you only spend that amount of money, if it doesn't work out, it's not as much of a difference. Like Harry Maguire, for example, 80 million. If he doesn't work out, everyone's going to be obviously extremely annoyed about that signing because it's a lot of money to waste on a player. To get him for this price, I think at this point in the season with the options that we've got, I think it's something you've got to go for at the moment. I mean, there's people sat on Twitter saying, Beth, can you do a job in CDM? I'm sure you all get asked that on a daily basis. Like, people just want anyone now. And I think from what I've heard of him, as on the same wavelength as Adam, I don't know much about him, but what I've heard of other people that watch him a lot more and obviously scout a lot more midfielders in that sort of league, like you can speak to Levin and stuff about players like that. I've heard that he is a very decent player. He did have an injury, which is unfortunate, but you know, a lot of players have injuries, they get over it. He's not as if he's coming towards the end of his career. Realistically, he's going into his prime. So I think it would definitely be a good signing for us to get. And like Adam said, you've got to trust Ralph, the new manager. If he wants to play you with the signings he's made in the past and the way he's developed players, you've got to go and trust him. You've got to back him if this is the player he wants. And when you look at the options we've got, it'd definitely be an improvement, and it'd be definitely someone that will come into the team and he will play first team football. I'm pretty sure on that. And that's who you want to get in January. You don't want someone that's going to come in and not displace what we've already got. And as Ralph said, we're only going to buy quality that's going to improve the first team. So I think it would be a great signing for the amount of money it is. And to get someone in January, I think it's so important with the lack of options we actually do have in there.
Yeah, definitely. And just to add to that, I was just checking his age. He is 25. And I think that ultimately, somebody said, why is he so cheap? His contract's up in the summer, so obviously he's going to be cheap. And the second thing is, positional wise, he can play centre back and he is a CDM. So he's not one of these bloody box to box players who's being forced to play as a CDM. Now, Kev, I'm not going to ask you about his goals and his assists and his performances for Mönchengladbach. I'm not going to throw you an Adam pass. I'm actually going to give you a fair one. We're going to talk about what Roy Keane has said, which I didn't even know, which adds even more glory to the question you're going to get, Kev, because we're going to talk about where Man United are at, because this is what we're really going to want to talk about. We're probably on this for a few minutes with all of us. Where Man United are at, and obviously you've not been on the show. Well, none of you have been on the show since these comments came out from Harry Maguire last night. But before you do answer, Kev, I love it when Roy Keane says exactly what we've been saying, because it's like, you can't be called a Forest fan or a load of shit, you know, stuff like that. Then when Roy Keane, the greatest captain we've had in Premier League, it comes out and says this. And he said that, how many times has Harry Maguire said this sort of thing? I wouldn't listen too much to what Harry has got to say. I judge a player on what he does on the football pitch, not what rubbish he comes out with about we need to stick together. Judge a player on what happens on the pitch. United aren't doing enough, but Aston Villa at home, you'd expect them to turn up and put in a performance. It's not been good enough recently. So that's Roy Keane pretty much coming out and saying what I'd said this morning. We've heard it all before. What did you think about what are you thinking about the situation, Kevin? You know, where we're as a club, what Maguire said, and you know where we go from here, I suppose.
In respect to the comments that Roy Keane makes, I think a lot of Manchester United fans, when Roy Keane speaks, you listen, and he's 99% of the times he's absolutely bang on the money, and you cannot disagree, because at the end of the day, Roy Keane is exactly like us, a Manchester United fan, and it probably hurts him just as much as it does for us. That man captained our club through its most triumphant time as a football club, so he'll be hurting. Of course he is. And when he's put in that position, you'll know yourself, Mark, doing watch-alongs and that. When you're in that position where you have to react straight away to a defeat, Roy Keane, he doesn't hold back, does he? He's been scathing of Fred. He's not held back on players like McTominay. And that's because they're players that played in his position. He knows what it's all about. And especially Harry Maguire, who is our club captain. He's supposed to be the leader of this team. And Roy Keane will probably go down in history as one of the best captains at Manchester United in the history, if not the best. So that's why I feel it's not a personal attack. I've heard people on, was it Gabby Bonglahor or something on TalkSport said it was borderline bullying what Roy Keane was saying about Harry Maguire. And I'm like, bullying? Seriously? You know, this snowflake generation, honestly, if you can't deal with any criticism like that. Football and being Manchester United captain is not for you. Roy Keane, I back him because he speaks for the fans for me, and he's privileged enough to be in a position where he can just say what he wants within reason. And when you've got Harry Maguire, he goes away for England. Who would they play in Albania or Kazakhstan or I don't even know who it was, scoring a goal and cupping his ears as if to say, I've silenced the critics. And you're like, Harry, lad, you know, and Roy Keane hit back again. When I seen it, I was disgusted. I thought, fair enough if it's at Anfield in the last minute, you've scored a winner. Same at the Etihad. This is for England in, you know, a game against a country. No disrespect to him, but I couldn't even remember the name then. So that tells you everything you need to know. Yeah. And listen, if Harry Maguire, if that's his makeup and that's the way he wants to go about things, fair enough, mate. You know, has he been relegated more times and he's won trophies? And I always said it'd be a problem when Ronaldo come into this team, because I think players like that will find somebody out like that. They're not going to be looking up to Harry Maguire and looking and thinking this guy's, you know, the leader of our team. But one thing I will say, it was quite refreshing that some of the players this week, on the back of these stories, have actually come out, and you can tell it's actually them that's tweeting, them that's putting stuff out. It's not the usual, we go again, not the result we want. They've actually come out, and all we want is a bit of passion, innit? Honesty. It's been driving us crazy at Manchester United. All this bullshit, basically. We move on, not the result we wanted. And we know it's not the players that's tweeting it, it's the PR companies on behalf of them. And that's where you become detached as a supporter, because you don't feel like you have that attachment or affiliation with the players anymore. But as a football club, sorry, I know I'm harping on, it's rebuild time again. I really do think. And the worry with sacking Ole Gunnar Solskjaer that I always said is the fact that we've got to press the reset button. And the stories that are coming out now, players unhappy. Me and Jay went through it in the last show. I think there's 10 players we named that could just go. And the sad thing is, I can't ever really remember feeling so detached from a group of players at Manchester United. I'm at the point now where if any of them were, even hearing Bruno Fernandes has carried this team, I hear the links with Barcelona. I'm even at the stage now where if he went, I just wouldn't be bothered. I just want players that want to play for the shirt and play for Manchester United. So that's where I am at the minute on that one, mate.
Well, no, you put it across really well, because I think that, you know, what I like about when an ex-player, whether it's Keane or Scholes, comes out and is passionate, and I think they are two that are more passionate than maybe a Gary Neville or a Rio Ferdinand. I think with them it's more calculated what they're saying, that they're more media savvy, to their credit. Whereas I think Scholes and Keane sometimes don't realise they're doing it for the media, and you can feel the frustration in them. It's like when Ronaldo scored against Atalanta and the camera's on Scholes, and you can tell he's pissed off. He's like, well, that's them getting out of jail, isn't it? You know, because we do think that. It was a moment of brilliance. But I think you do still get the people who are, you know, I've criticised Maguire this morning, and I've seen people in my comments going after me. And then I think, well, go after Roy Keane then, because he said it stronger than I have, and he's captain Manchester United. He's been in a dressing room, and he's basically said, "Stop with your bloody we go again, and it hurts," and start performing as a player. And that's a good point, isn't it, Adam? Really, you'll be at the match tomorrow. I think Beth's going as well. I agree with Kev. I think some of the players have come out, and it doesn't feel orchestrated. But the Maguire one, he's talking about Sir Alex, Wayne Rooney. He could have gone somewhere else. It's through the club. He's the club captain. It feels very, very orchestrated. And that may be what has pissed Roy Keane off, because what also pissed me off is, as well, I'll be stunned if he's not starting tomorrow. Yet Phil Jones was man of the match. Varane's fit. And it just feels like he will start tomorrow because he's the captain. But he shouldn't be anywhere near that team for the reason Roy Keane said. Performance-wise, he ain't good enough. Just because you're captain, but I guarantee he will start. And there, I agree with Kev. We need a reset, but it's not a reset when you bring in this. You know, maybe Rashford will start tomorrow. He's been crap as well. Like, reputations are getting picked, and this was a problem under Ollie.
All right, so I was speaking with a mate of mine before from the States, and he nailed it when he said, the last time I spoke to him was when Ollie was in charge a few months ago. He said, so much has changed, but Carla's changed. It's still the same. Do you know what I mean? Kev nailed it there in terms of being disconnected from the bunch of players. if Harry Maguire starts tomorrow, like you said, Mark, then that adds to that because the fans seen what Phil Jones did. And then straight away, we're seeing Phil Jones drop to the bench because El Capitano's back fit again. And this is what I said regarding what Rangnick is going to struggle with. I think if he brings back Harry Maguire tomorrow, then he's making it harder on himself. He really is, because that connect with the fans is what this team needs at the moment. If they're disconnected from them, then you know what? It's going to make it worse. And it's going to make it harder for them. And Old Trafford behind you can pull you out of any bit of bad form and change a game for you. And Old Trafford that's not with you and is sick to death of the spiel and crap that comes out over social media and interviews is going to make you even worse. And I don't agree at all with the criticism that Rashford's getting personally and the abuse side of it, but he's useless on the pitch. Roy Keane's talking about Harry Maguire there, saying, look, shut up. It's literally all coming down to what you're doing on the pitch. And I've said, look, you are our worst player in this team at the moment, Harry. And I know you have to. And you said to me, Matt, when you messaged me the other day, funny how Harry Maguire has been quiet all week. It's like they've been trying to plot this interview and this statement around everything else that's been said through the whole week and then go bang right when it's low key. And what time did it drop last night, by the way? I mean, what's that all about? Why is that coming out at that time? I mean, come on. Seriously, we're not stupid. We know exactly what the club are doing. Harry Maguire as a captain at the moment is a massive problem for the fan base because he's not playing well and he's the one who has to come out and do these. I guarantee you he didn't want to have anything to say at all this week, Harry Maguire. But because he's club captain, he has to come out and say something. There has to be this stupid statement that comes out. And
can you just while it's in my head, you know, one of the things he said, and I was going to ask one of you, so I'll ask you. One of the things he said was that I'm the captain, I'm the leader. I've privately spoken to the manager and the players. I mean, I was thinking about this afternoon. I just couldn't imagine Cristiano can have a chat.
Yeah. No, mate.
Can you ever sit down? I need to have a word with you. Like, and that's what I mean. I just think I feel sorry for him in a way. I just think he's totally out of his depth. Just take it off him.
It is that. I mean, he doesn't fill you with leadership characteristics at the moment, does there? And the way he plays and the way he talks. If anyone, if Harry Maguire asked me if I was a player there and Harry Maguire said, "Oh, I need to have a word with you. We need to sort this out," I'd be like, "F off, mate. You need to sort your own form out before you sort me out." It's disrespectful to the rest of the team, and they'll be looking at that going, "Shut up, you absolute."
Well, Rashford did tell him to F off on the pitch once, didn't he?
It's like, you know what, I mean, we got away with murder having no fans in the stadium, by the way, last season, and we're seeing that now because the criticism wasn't there. But one thing it did uncover was moments like that where it's like, well, yeah, you ain't really carrying much respect from the rest of the team, Harry, not when you're playing as crap as you are. It comes down to what you do on the pitch. You can only be a good captain if you perform to the level that is demanded of you for Manchester United. If you can't play to that level, then you need to be pulled aside yourself and say, look, you need a timeout, mate. Someone else needs to be in this captain's role here. And I do believe now is the time where Harry Maguire should be taken out of the limelight because we are going to destroy this guy. And like you said, Matt, you feel sorry for him in a way because he has to come out and say something because he's the captain. We are going to destroy him if this carries on. That's what is going to happen to him. And I don't want to see it because I actually still think there's a good defender there. But he is so far out of form, he doesn't belong on that pitch. He, right now, is fourth choice. And we just let Eric Bailly go to Africa Cup of Nations. I'm not counting him. And we've let Axel go to Napoli. And I'm not counting him. He's still fourth choice now. And that's our captain. So how are you supposed to demand respect from everybody else when you're that far down the pecking order? It makes absolute no sense. And like Jay said, I quote the man himself, have you got the balls to make the calls? This is a massive one, but I think it will help an awful lot. And you know what? I think Harry Maguire will take it on the chin. I do. I think he'll say, look, he's talked about Brunei, he's talked about Ferguson, but in that conversation, standards would have come up. And he knows he's not stupid. I mean, he does stupid things on the pitch, but he's not stupid. He will know he's way below par. His form isn't good enough to lead this team. And you have to be playing well. That is standard. So for me, take him out of the team, take the captaincy off him. Take it off him now, make the call, and make everyone's life easier. And then if he's back in with the rest of the team then, and it gives him a chance to just think about it, time on the sideline is what he needs, in my opinion. If Ralph makes that call, then I think it's a massive step in the right direction.
It's the transfer fee, isn't it? That's what he's living off at the minute.
Both.
I think it's the captaincy. I think it's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. Yeah, Ole Solskjaer
The only
threw
reason
Rangnick under the bus by giving him the captaincy, because he's dropping Sancho 75 million. That's not even a problem. So Harry Maguire at 80 million, it's that armband which is absolutely nailing him. It's Ole's fault. Someone needs to make a massive call at the cost of what Ole's done.
The way you take the captaincy off him for you don't have to be forever or even a short period of time while he is in this horrible form, is you drop him so he can't be the captain. That's all that needs to be done. And then when they ask, why is Harry Maguire not playing? Rangnick says he knows he needs to improve his form. He's working on that. That's all that needs to be said.
That's the thing I was going to say to you anyway, Beth, because that's the ridiculous thing, is that under no circumstances should he start for Manchester United when Phil Jones is man of the match and Varane is way better than him. And we're going through a crisis. And as Kev and Adam have alluded to there, he's going to start tomorrow because he's £80 million and he's the captain. How is that progress? Just picking a player just because that's not Manchester United. But I expect that to happen.
It's not. It's so demoralising for other players as well that are fighting so hard for the. Well, we don't know if they're fighting so hard for the places, but Eric Bailly's brought up before. You're fighting hard for your place, but it's an impossible task. How are you supposed to do it? Eric Bailly can't walk in, grab the captain's armband and put 80 million price tag on himself. It should be based on football. And when you see Manchester United being run that way, it shows it's not about football. It's about commercialism. It's about how the club looks, how it's going to affect the image of Maguire. And I just think to myself, when I look at that team, and I think Maguire is a better centre-half than Phil Jones, but Phil Jones played a lot better than Harry Maguire has played for months now. So he deserves to start on footballing merit. Do I think Phil Jones is going to be our solution? No, I don't. But he deserves to start on footballing merit. And that's how Manchester United should be. Rashford had poor games. I don't think he should start either because I don't think he's doing well. I still rate Rashford as a football player and I think he can get back into form. But when you're on a bad patch of form and you can't seem to play your way out of it, and we can't afford to let these players play the way out of it. I mean, we've been doing it for months now and nothing's changed. There has to be a change because the other players are going to become so demoralised as well, knowing there's nothing they can do to get themselves into this team. What motivation is it? When you come off the bench and you play, or when you're starting, for example, a Carabao Cup game and you play well, and you don't get minutes later on in the season, what is your motivation to come off the bench and do that again? What is the motivation for these players to come on and have a really good performance and put everything into it again? Like Donny van der Beek's done it before. He came on against Watford. He's not had a sniff since. What is the motivation there? And that is the problem. I think that's the problem that was there when Ollie was there. There was favourites and other players, again, were demoralised, and it's going to happen again. And like Adam was saying with the captaincy as well, all you have to do is drop him, give Ronaldo or Bruno the captaincy. That's all that has to be said. When he comes back into the team, I think you'll see a much better performance from him, because you've seen it. You see it a lot of times. Players are benched and they come on and they have a point to prove. And I think Maguire, in his head, even if he doesn't want to think this way, he'll know that he's undroppable, and he knows no matter what performance he puts in, subconsciously, he's going to play again next game. So, I mean, he talks about the motivation to put on the shirt and just put in a world-class performance anyway because it's Manchester United. But sometimes you need that push. Every player does. If you know you're starting every game, there's not that high-intensity motivation that you should have. And for me, he has to be dropped. If he's not, then it just goes back under the same pretenses that we had under Ollie. And then where is the change? The players are still downbeat, and it's for the rest of the team. And Ronaldo as well. Maguire trying to tell Ronaldo what to do at the moment with the form. He's in trying to tell anyone what to do. If he's demanding Varane at the back, Varane's going to be like, "Excuse me, you've played poor for months." So I think for the sake of the whole team, and for the sake of Maguire himself, for the sake of Rangnick, because he's going to lose respect as well off a lot of the fans if he starts Maguire tomorrow. I think he's got to. I think he's got to drop him.
Do you think he will, Kev?
I don't think he will, because I've done my predicted 11, but if it was me, I would. And just before, when I mentioned the transfer fee of Harry Maguire, the point I wanted to make is, if Harry Maguire, we'd signed him from, I don't know, Sheffield United or something for 2 million, he would not be anywhere near that first team at Manchester United. He'd have been written off ages ago. There would have come a point where they'd have gone, well, it was 2 million, whatever, we'll look to offload him. He'd be nowhere near that team. It's the sad fact that Manchester United at that time got into this thing that if Virgil van Dijk's worth this, then Harry Maguire's worth that. We had to pay it at the time. He shouldn't be in that team. And personally, Phil Jones should be in that team tomorrow. And I never, ever thought I'd hear myself say that. Honestly, until the Wolves game, I just still can't believe that I'm even saying that. For me, he was man of the match.
Phil Jones is listening to the show tonight, bathing in champagne. He's like bathing in champagne. He's like slurp it up. He's loving this.
He's got the freedom of Manchester, that lad now. Sir Phil Jones, we'll have to call him. But do you know what it is? And a lot of people go on and say, "Oh, you're a passion merchant and all this." Phil Jones, for me, showed everything about being a Manchester United player. And when you look at the fact that De Gea and Phil Jones are the only two people in that team from the Sir Alex Ferguson era, from Phil Jones, what it shows, all them players would run through brick walls for Sir Alex Ferguson. And Phil Jones has still got that. I'm not saying he's technically the best player at the club or anything, best defender. He did a job. No nonsense defending, no messing about. He's got pace, and he hadn't played a game for 2 years. That's unbelievable.
Well, the thing about Phil Jones, he played
as
well.
Far as to say that's the best. He's played better than Harry Maguire has ever played for Manchester United in that one game that he's not played a professional game in for 2 years.
Well, that's what I mean, just to come back on that, Kev, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I was getting angry with someone a couple of days ago because they were talking about Phil Jones and effort. And I said, I'm not big enough effort. I'm not big enough effort. I've watched the 94 team, the 99 team, the 08 team. They all tried and they're all talented. It's not about 11 players putting effort in because I can get the postman to do that. He loves United. But the reality is, Phil Jones played well. There was a cross where he got across and got his foot in the way, and it could have been a tap in. His passing was good. His heading was good. His positional sense was good. He played well. And that, as Beth says, as Adam said, that is why he should play tomorrow. And I think that I'll go back to you on Kev on this one as we move the conversation along. Is this not the big problem at United in a way that, we expect Harry Maguire to play tomorrow, but we know Jurgen Klopp or Pep wouldn't pick him at Man City or Liverpool. Whether they paid 80 million or he's the captain or not, they'd pick a team that's playing well. Is this not the problem with Marcus Rashford, who, again, if it was Pep or Klopp, they would not pick him because he's not playing well, but because he's got a big, big status, it's Marcus Rashford, he's got to start. Scott McTominay would not start, but because he's really popular and he's from the youth setup, he's got to start as well. People, we know we're a brand and not a football club as a business. Are we now becoming a bit of a team that's just, we're picking players for the wrong reasons?
It's almost like, the one that's got the most social media followers or whatever, we'll put them out. And then it doesn't matter if we get beat, because at the end they can, copy us in a tweet and put it out and say, next week we move on, not the result that we wanted. Players should be the person who's got
the most mates in the dressing room as well. I mean, Harry Maguire's not massive on social media, but he's probably got a lot of mates in the dressing room, and therefore he's got to be picked. I don't know. It just feels like people are being picked for not footballing reasons.
They should be in the team on merit. I've always said it. The same with Phil Jones deserves another outing for me, as long as he's not injured or anything. Marcus Rashford does not deserve to start in that team. I know you've mentioned McTominay and that, but it depends. We're very weak in that area. So whoever you choose there, it's the best of a bad bunch in the middle, because there's just a gaping hole there that should have been addressed in the summer. And it should really be on form. I've not particularly been inspired by Wan-Bissaka much recently. I think he's going backwards at Manchester United. I think it's the reason that Rangnick, when he come in, has give Dalot a bit of a chance, because getting forward, Dalot is definitely a lot better, and he can whip a ball in, which Aaron Wan-Bissaka has not been able to do. I'm not saying he won't be able to do it, but from this era, where the biggest thing, like you say, about the captaincy, Rangnick should have nipped that in the bud straight away. And forget, we did discuss this once, and I can't remember who it was that said, well, you don't want him to come in and upset the dressing room. And I'm like, well, who cares? If he comes in and the first statement he says is, hello, Harry, or whatever, obviously in a German accent, and says...
Very good German accent, that was.
It was, wasn't it? If he says, I am taking the captaincy off you, it's nothing against you, but we're taking it off you. My plan, I'm the manager now, and I want Ronaldo to lead this team. It is nothing against you. I'll still consider you for team selection and that, don't let it get you down or whatever. It should have been the first thing that he did when he went in. Now prolonging it
But Kev,
makes
just
it
in
worse.
fairness on that, I don't think that's happened. But look at what's happened in the last week. Imagine if he had took the captaincy off Maguire. What have we had this week just because they don't like the style of training? Imagine if he had done that. It'd be 10 times worse to the week we've just had. This is the problem, isn't it? It's
ridiculous.
I don't think you can go into that squad anymore and say, you're not the captain, I'm not picking you. I think there's enough evidence now to realise that squad is rotten. And it's almost mission impossible. I think it's mission impossible for an interim coach anyway.
It is. It's dead.
Just a bunch of... They are, honestly, the majority of some of them are just spoiled brats that are just throwing the toys out the pram. They do not like the fact they have had it easy the last 3 years or whatever. You hear these stories that they're rocking up at Camp Carrington. Some players were rocking up late, no disciplinary action, just on you get your boots on, get the cones out and all that. They've had 3 years of this. And now they've got a manager in who's not afraid to hold back and tell them they don't like it and that they're reacting to it. It's absolutely pathetic that professional footballers that are getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds a week to turn up and kick a football around a pitch. And now they're spitting the dummy out saying we don't like his training methods. I'm sorry. Get on with it. Get on with it. Honestly, honestly, you know what I mean? I've got to get up for work in the morning and I go and do an average job or whatever for the week. And I think these lads are so privileged to be in this position. I honestly think the majority of them don't even realise what it is. You see some of them walking out before games and it's almost like, just a job this, I'm just coming out.
Mate, they'll never know the graft of a hard day's work because they've lived in a bubble since they were 13 years of age where, they've got no idea what the real worlds are like.
Lost touch with reality.
Yeah. But I tell you what, Adam, though, I was speaking to somebody on Twitter yesterday and they sent me a DM and they said, I bloody love it if the next 10 games we picked this team. And the team was, let me think if we can get it right. It was De Gea, Delot, Varane, Lindelof, I think, or it could have been Bailly. You'll start to realise what's going on very quickly. Tellez, Fred, Donny, Bruno, Cavani, Ronaldo, and Ahmad. It was like the opposite of Brexit. It was like, it had no British players in it at all. And he was like, I guarantee they'd play more for the shirt and we'd play better football. And I went, wow, I'd still have a few of the British lads in it. But it was like, you could tell what his angle was. And it was just like, yeah, I'm telling you now, if he just went with all those foreign players who are here, they've got a different mentality. Look at Juan Mata, doesn't drink, educated, loves his football. And he was like, I'm telling you now, and it wasn't Ricky. So I realised I'm going a bit like Ricky. I'm telling you now, if you just put a team of non-British players out, I guarantee you'd get a better United.
I mean, I went one first. I said if you put a team of youth players out, you'd get a better Man United. I do believe that Rangnick would get a better. I said to Beth offline there, I said, I think he'd get a better finishing position in the league if he played with the under-23s to the end of the season than this first team. That's what I believe, because I know they'd listen to him. I know they'd give everything for him. And I know his system would work with certain players. It's like Kev said, like you alluded to then, it's just gone so far with this team. They're so far under with that privileged life that they've had that, and I think it was Kev who said it at the start, the snowflake mentality of these players. He's scared to actually upset anyone because we wouldn't have a team that went out on that pitch and did anything. They'd all be terrified. They're all scared of what's coming next. They're so scared about what's coming next. Like I said, they don't know what they're doing at the time. They don't know. They're already thinking of the consequences of what might happen to them and what slating they're going to get before they've even played the game. They're playing scared is what I'm saying, and that's it. There's no one on that pitch that's got the balls to take the ball and do something with it. And in the midfield, that is evident more than anywhere else on the pitch. And for me, I do believe, like you said then, it's impossible for a interim manager with this long with the team and the amount of time and games we've got left in the season to make anything work. I've sort of given up on the season inside. I'm looking to cling on to something that I see can work possibly next season. Now, that's how I'm thinking, and that's my mindset right now, because I'm looking at it saying we really need a cup run. I need someone to cling on to as a fan to the end of the season, because I looked at the games and I worked out that we may need to win, a minimum of 12 games in the last 19 of the season to get near top 4. And I'm looking at going 12. Jesus, we only won 9 in the first half of the season. And that's what we sort of need to even compete at top 4. And I look at it and I go, this team hasn't got that in them. It really hasn't got them in them. We need consistency, which we've shown at no point this season. And why is it going to come now when, like you said, it's the worst it's been in terms of disgruntlement within the squad and players so out of form? How can you have, I think it was Paul Ince who said it on your show, Mark, how can you have so many stars out of form at the same time? There is something drastically wrong behind the scenes that isn't working. And it's because the club have let these players get away with so much for so long. And the managers have not got enough power. They really haven't got enough power. So I don't expect much out of the season, but I'm hoping for a little glimmers of hope taking me into next season. Will that be with the amount of players that leave? Yeah, I will take joy in seeing quite a few of these players leave in the summer. I really will, because it'll be the start of a new era. It's if and who. I don't know what you're all laughing at. What is it?
Sorry, that's super chat.
Molly May. If you know, you know. It's not the real Molly May, but it's. This has
been going. Everyone's got that. Everyone's got that picture now on the profile.
Yeah.
But yeah. Molly's thrown me completely out, and I'm not happy with this team. Beth, she's thrown me a bit now. Well, I know what I was going to say. Yeah, so just picking up what Adam was saying there about the manager and Ralph Rangnick and what he does over the next 3 months. Look, we all slag Arsenal off, but I think there's quite an interesting thing with Arsenal. If you look at Arteta. He's had Arteta out, he's had the T-shirts, and he's ridden that storm on pure doggedness and stubbornness to build the team he wants to build. Leno was a fan favourite at Arsenal. He's kicked him out. He's brought Ramsdale in. He's and the biggest thing of all, with the club captain, who's on the more money than anybody, he's basically booted him. He's booted it. He's not even on the bench. Get out.
Deserved, though.
Yeah, deserved, but very popular, very big dressing room influence. Captain of the club, demands respect, and Arteta's booted him, and Arsenal's form has been fantastic. We've just talked about that. We would not be able to do that, apart from today, we would not be able to do that at Manchester United. So, do you think Rangnick has to take some responsibility, or you just think it's mission impossible with this set of players?
I can't get my head around it, because I feel like at the club, we don't know for definite, but this is my feeling around it. I feel like Arteta has full control of Arsenal. The board, to be fair to them, despite all of Arsenal fans' worries about the board that they have, they put everything into Arteta, and they've let him do what he wants to do, despite how awful it was going at first. And he has full reign of Arsenal. Klopp has full reign of Liverpool. Pep has full reign of City. Conte now will have full reign of Spurs. It goes on and on and on. And the constant thing that Mourinho brought up as well about him not getting what he wants within the club and not being able to make certain decisions. I do think at Manchester United, the board makes probably more of the decision than the manager. I think there's a guideline that the manager does have to stick to. I think he gets told certain things. Of course, he runs a team and he coaches a team, but I do think at Manchester United, the manager doesn't run the show. And when it comes to these players and the stuff that's come out recently, and I know it can't all be true, but some of it will be true for it to be that many leaks. I think that is a massive, massive, massive issue, and it's a massive red flag that shows the players have the power at Manchester United. Unfortunately, they're on huge wages, so you can't shift them out, and they've had the power for a long time. I think when Ollie came in, I think it was very friendly, but they still had the power. And I think now it's the same thing going on again. And I was talking to Adam on a show recently. I think these players have forgotten the definition of what a manager is, because to be saying you don't like the training methods after I think it's just over a month, I think that is completely ludicrous. And this is when it comes down to the fact, Ralph Rangnick, what the task he does have on his hands, this is the task he massively needs to get right, is he needs to work out who is and who isn't on board with what's going on. And I don't care what name it is, whoever isn't on board, Don't put him in the squad. Don't put him in the team. People say I'm contradicting myself here because on Twitter I said I would like Martial to start on Monday if he doesn't if he's not going to Sevilla anymore, and that is the reason. Is because the only reason I've heard Martial wants to leave the club is due to game time, which I can completely understand. If it's due to game time, I get that. When it comes down to not liking the coaching methods, not liking the coaches he's brought in, when you've literally just given a month, I think that is completely ridiculous. And rumours coming out that Ronaldo's come in and he's upset some of the senior players. That again, who do these players, like in my head, I think, who do you think you are? Ronaldo has won every single thing that you can win in the game. And a lot of these players have won nothing at Manchester United. A lot of them have won nothing. And if not, they've won a Europa League. I mean, come on, there's levels here. And every player in that dressing room when Ronaldo walked in should have been listening, should have been learning. Ralph Rangnick's come in, the coaching he's done in the past, the way he's run football clubs, they should be listening, they should be learning. They should not be throwing the dummies out the pram a month in because it's not going right yet and thinking, oh, it must be Rangnick, he must be crap, it's not us. No, the positive mentality and the winning mentality. You listen to the manager, you take everything he has to say on board, you completely do what he says and you train your hardest to do so. And you do that until you start getting positive results. And the team mentality, it can't be there. The way Luke Shaw came out in that interview and it contradicted what Maguire put out in his interview this week. Luke Shaw said he wasn't happy with the mentality of some of the players, somewhat along them lines. So already players are contradicting themselves in the dressing room. And I think to myself, God, I hope that after all the criticism they have got this week, that on Monday, tomorrow, we do see a difference. But I don't think there can be a difference until you ship some of the players out that are causing this distress. Because when it comes down to I agree it comes down to ability, and I'm speaking to Ricky about this. We don't have ability in some areas of pitch that we need. The midfield massively needs improvement. I think Wan-Bissaka is not good enough to be right back. Luke Shaw has either amazing performances or it's average. There are some players in the team that aren't quite good enough. But at the same time, when it comes to the way we're playing, the chemistry, the mentality, the leaks that are coming out, it comes down to negative mentality and not having that growth mindset that you need to have when the manager comes in. And I think there's some players there that don't have the mentality to be a Manchester United player. And that is what Ralph Rangnick does need to figure out very, very quickly and try and get them players out that are thinking that way.
It's interesting. I think player power, I don't think there's a United fan out there that would think that's a conspiracy. I think we all know player power is a big issue, Kevin. It brings us back to tomorrow night and the next few months with Rangnick. I think one of the things that really surprised me was that this team was abysmal before Rangnick came in. Watford, Leicester, we didn't dream it. They got annihilated. And he pretty much has stuck with the same players. Now, we can keep naming them, but we know who they are. He didn't really make any changes. He didn't really give anybody a chance. Delo played one game or two, and then he was out. And Tellez the same, and he goes back to the same team. Is that evidence? Do you think that actually this is not, like somebody said, it's not a reset? It's a soft reset, and there is influence from certain coaches that were there with Ollie that. We really need to keep these people happy. And what do you think about that? And what do you think about the next few months? Do you think that it needs big changes, like Beth says, if we're going to do anything? Or do you think it will just be more of the same? And, we probably will win tomorrow. I mean, it'd be amazed if we don't get a response. But it's more the Villa away game where I think we'll get back to normal. What are you thinking about it?
The first couple of games, you would allow Rangnick time to get his feet under the table, maybe speak to other coaches, see what they think. But I think when you say about team selection, that has been the big thing and we've said it on here before about favouritism FC and all this. And he does seem to have reverted back to it. And the question is kind of why? It basically got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the sack. So why are we going back down this path of under Rangnick? Does he think that he can trust Fred and McTominay? Can he really rely on Maguire and that? And I think that's the other one that got me was the Wolves game. I thought bringing Greenwood off was just such an easy substitution to make. And in a way, I was quite happy that the Stretford end and that reacted to that and booed the decision. Not the manager, but they let him know their feelings. There wasn't a chance that Greenwood should have been coming off in that game. He was trying to make things happen. I think the comments he made after the game were quite telling, because it was almost like he admitted it was an easy choice to make because he's a young lad to bring off. And then, you've got the likes of Rashford who just seem to walk into that team. Again, I don't think he should be anywhere near it really at the minute on current form. And what was the second part of the question? Just to do with the season and Aston Villa, did you say?
Yeah, just like where we go. Where do you think we're going to go from here, really? Because we have got this big game tomorrow, but then we've got Villa, who by next Saturday could have Digne, Coutinho, maybe even Basuma added to their team. I mean, that's the contrast as well, isn't it? We've spent so much tonight talking about the board and Rangnick, and the reality is Arsenal are looking to buy a couple of players in January. Villa are probably going to get 3. Spurs want players, and our board sat there again going, give the dividends to the Glazers.
Yeah, and if they do bring in Basuma and that, they'll beat us. Simple as that. And that is because the midfield battle is a major part of football games. And this is where we're getting done time after time. Manchester City, Liverpool, Leicester, Watford, all embarrassing feats. And we were just totally outclassed and outmaneuvered in every single department in midfield. And we look back to the Wolves match, Neves, Moutinho, absolutely class, ran the show. And if he wants to continue with Fred, McTominay, Matic, trying to interchange them and swap them and keep them fresh, and good luck, mate. But honestly, it's what got Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the sack. So it will not work. It is not sustainable. And it will be a fight for top 4 and a hell of a fight. Because the way that Conte is now getting his thoughts over at Tottenham, you can see the way that they're starting to rev up. They're not going to stand still. And that's where Manchester United are at the minute. That's what makes me laugh. People are like, well, we could be back challenging within a year. I'm like, a year? Manchester City and Liverpool are not standing still. They are continuing to reinvest new ideas going forward. And what have we been doing for the last 3 years? We've not moved forward. We've stood still. And when you stand still like that, football, it comes back to bite you in the arse because you're just going to get left behind. That's exactly what's happened at Manchester United.
Yeah, I think I said it last week, didn't I? I said we won't get top 4, and that was before the Wolves game. I just have become quite, like Kev was saying a few minutes ago, I've become quite resigned to the fact that this ain't going to get any better, Adam.
No, I see.
I remember saying at the end of the season, I think it was Ollie's first season when he just got the job, when they gave it him too early. And then I think we got smashed at Everton, and he come out afterwards and he said, some of these players will not play for this club again. And I think if you figure it out, it was Chris Smalling. That was the one player that didn't play again. And it definitely wasn't just his fault. And I said at the end, and then we think we lost at home to Cardiff or something like that, or Huddersfield.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't trust these players. They've just gone and won every game and played really well for 3 months. And then Ollie gets a contract and they're down the tools. And I said, I don't trust these players. We're now 2 and a bit years on, and it's the same old problem. We can get to finals and semi-finals, and then we bottle it. I just don't think it's going to improve until we have a massive clear out, which I just don't think the board have got the balls to do.
This is it, mate. It's how you change the mentality. I'm a big advocate of the mentality of the players. I think a lot of them are too far gone. And you're right in saying that we do need to ship out to get rid of that negative mentality, because I look at it and I go back to that Spurs game away from home, and I would happy, of celebrating a 3-0 win away from home. And it's very rare these days that you get to have such a comfortable afternoon. But the way that them players came over and celebrated, I was like, all right, mate, steady on. What about the rest of the shit that you've just been performing us and giving us the last few weeks? You just celebrate like you've won the bleeding Champions League. And I'm thinking, oh, good God, yeah, happy that you've won, lads, but I've not forgot the trip I took to Leicester. I'm not forgetting what's happening early on in the season when you just down tools at home against our rivals, that we're getting the stick for.
Adam, give them a break. They were all like that. Great day out, Adam. See you at Watford.
And this is what I mean, mate. It's the mentality of the players. You have to have that winning mentality. It's like the Roy Keanes and the Inces say, and everyone else. It's like Zlatan's interview the other day. It's like that mentality. Ronaldo's got it now, but the rest of them haven't. It's not there, and it's lost in them. And until you start getting rid of some players, because there's some that aren't good enough. They're not going to get that winning mentality. It's like Scott McTominay. Man, the guy knows how to celebrate a goal, doesn't he? He really does. And I'm not taking anything away from the lad, but my God, it's like everything's done and dusted. It's like the Albanian ear clenching from Harry Maguire. Where are your standards? And that's why it won't get better. It's like, I remember an interview with Ben Foster, it was, after we won the League Cup. And then he won the League Cup again. Was it with Birmingham? Was it with Birmingham? He won it again against Arsenal. And he said it was brilliant because I was able to celebrate winning the cup. When I was at Manchester United, we were back at training the next day. It's the next game. This is Manchester United. We go again. We've got bigger fish to fry. That's the sort of attitude and the mentality that this squad has got none of. It's like we win a game, yes, a week off from the negativity on social media. That's it. That's a win for these guys. And to get that out, I think now is impossible. There are too many of them. They're too far gone. And we are just, Ricky said that we build players up that aren't as good as what everyone says they are. Well, I know the players that are good enough, the likes of Bruno and people like that, they have got that mentality. You can see it. You can see Bruno slagging off Lindelof for making a mistake in a final. That's like Roy Keane on the training ground slagging off Rio Ferdinand for playing a square pass. They're standards that aren't in this team. Everyone's getting off of it too lightly, and they think they're doing a good job. They actually believe that they're doing okay, whereas the table itself shows a completely different outlook. And the fans, they've had enough of it. I'm telling you now, I'm there every single week, and these fans have had enough. They will not have the wool pulled over their eyes anymore. And it's our mate Gary Neville who's forgot about his famous saying that he lived off his whole life, that his dad always told him. You can never kid the fans in football. Don't try and kid the fans. You're doing plenty of that this season.
I'll tell you what, he's been bloody quiet this week for a guy who's massive. I mean, I think he's just all politics out, but he's been really quiet this week. I don't, you know, I think Gary's entertaining. That's the word I'd use. And you know, if it's Boris Johnson, he's on it. He's up at 3:00 in the morning. United mutiny in the dressing room. I haven't said a word. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I've not heard him say a word.
I've not, mate. I've not. We spoke and it's like we were surprised we hadn't heard from Harry Maguire, but
he's on holiday skiing apparently. Fair play. All right, no worries. He's got no reception. When I'm on holiday, I tweet more in the evening because I have a drink.
Yeah, that's it. That's why I don't think it will get any better. I can see us beating Villa tomorrow, but then I can see me having a sorry sort of drive home from Birmingham next Saturday afternoon, because that's where the mentality is needed. Yeah, it's all singing and dancing, FA Cup. It's the get out of jail game, innit? Go out and play a different way because it's a different competition. But when the bread and butter of the league comes around and you've got a absolutely rampant Villa Park down your throats, these players will melt. I've seen it every single away game this season. As soon as the crowd gets onto them, like it did at Newcastle, they disappear. They're like chocolate fire guards. Absolutely useless, mate. Well. Pointless. Maguire, perfect for that. Prime suspect every single time. And that's what they feed off. And I've seen it all the way through the season. If this reset is happening now, it has to be in the heads of these players because we'll go to Villa Park next week and you just, the writing's on the wall and you can see what's coming. The Gerrard, the Coutinho, it's coming back to haunt United. It's just the way it works with United. Unless they take a check and go, right, let's just stop this now. Let's just go out there with a different mindset and say, look, we're going to at least dig in and give the fans something and try and get the fans back. Because it starts with getting the fans on side. Unless they pull their sleeves up, they've got a horrible second half of the season.
Story of our season, isn't it? One step forward, 2 steps back. Like you say, we are well capable of winning that, tomorrow night, but then losing the league fixture, and you'd be like...
I think with that, Kev, it's like what Adam said, really. Even if we win tomorrow night, you will get some fans that will be like, give him a chance. But I actually think a lot of fans have figured it out now that, we might win the next 2 or 3 games, but it's, how long can you trust it? And I remember going to, I remember at a few occasions, we've got a very good record at Villa Park. I went to And I was in with actually Villa fans because I got asked by a Villa fan last minute to go, and we were 2-0 down, and they were all over us. Ashley Young was playing for Villa. They absolutely battered us, and I think with 10 minutes, Vidic definitely scored. I think it was like 10 minutes to go, and we got back to 2-2, and the Villa fans just silenced. But that's because that was United under Sir Alex. It was like you could be out of a game for 70 minutes, but the mentality would come through with the winning players. I remember another FA Cup game, we were 2-0 down, and I think Van Nistelrooy came off and Solskjaer scored. And we just, Adam's right. Villa's difficult. Every game's difficult if you're a team that when you go 1-0 down, your heads drop, Beth, and that's what we're looking at. But Beth, I wanted to ask you, I've got a special question for you. James Garner.
Special question. Go on.
We're going to go a bit positive. James Garner. We're all going to give our opinion on this, but James Garner. Don't know whether you saw the game today. Some people are saying,
I watched the game.
If we're not going to buy anybody, bring him back and stick him in the midfield. What do you think about that? Is it too soon or unfair, or would you do it?
I'm not going to lie. I would have liked if we were going to loan him out this season, and it was decided he wasn't going to get game time. I would have liked to see him go to a team in the Premier League. I think he's definitely good enough for that. I think he's definitely good enough to play first team football for a team that's in the Premier League. So I would have preferred to see that. But do you know, when I watched him today, I thought he played really well in the midfield, and a lot of Nottingham Forest fans as well are very, very positive about his performances week in, week out. I thought that free kick was really good effort, and it's not only just the free kick; it's the midfield work. He's all constantly looking around for the positions. He aggressively gets into tackles. I think his movement was great. I think he put in a few through balls that went really well. And as a midfielder, I thought his passing was a lot more accurate than the midfielders we've got right now. And I think the way he kept his position in that CDM role was very, very good. I mean, when you look at what we've got, I think he definitely deserves a chance in our midfield currently. I mean, I think he should go on maybe a slight fitness plan to possibly like bulk up a little bit more so he has the physicality for the Premier League. But technically, very, very good player that I was very, very impressed with today. And I know Arsenal were garbage, but it's still Arsenal. It's still a Premier League team, and Nottingham Forest did very, very well to beat them. And I thought he structured that midfield very, very well. And I think he should definitely, sooner or later, be given a chance in the Manchester United midfield to simply see whether he can take on that role and do it well. We've been screaming out for a CDM. Would it really, really be that much of an issue to put him in our midfield and give him a chance, considering he's been playing very, very well at Nottingham Forest? I just think he does have a future at United. I'd like to see him at a Premier League team on loan if he's going to continue his loan, but sooner or later he's definitely going to be knocking on the door to that Manchester United team. He's got to be from the performance he's been putting in. It's not the thing is what I bring it back to. If our midfield was absolutely amazing, we had no issues with them. We had they were being talked about for being one of the best midfielders in the league. I would completely understand. We were talking about on a show recently. Our midfield, we look at it, especially the centre defensive midfield. You look at the rest of the league, you struggle to find a midfield like pairing that's actually worse. You do struggle. So when you look at that and you look at how well he's doing, I do think he needs a chance, definitely. I mean, their right back as well, Spence, was very, very good. I looked the way he played today, and I know you can't just take off one performance, but I was like, God, he'd give Aaron Wan-Bissaka a right one for his money. Generally, I'll be like, I'd take him today, the way he was playing. It's crazy to see the standards that are there if you actually go and look for it.
It's interesting. I mean, I think, Kev, Beth makes really good points there. And, he kept Odegaard quiet. And as a CDM, I've watched McTominay go and hide behind the attacker to not take the ball off the back four. I've seen Fred do it as well. In a CDM position, he wants the ball and he can play a long ball, a short pass, kept Odegaard quiet. I suppose the question for you, Kev, would you use him yet? And do you think it's more beneficial that he just keeps playing at Forest, where he's one of the best players in the team in the Championship, growing physically and mentally, rather than bringing him into this shithole where he could get influenced as a young player by the mess we've been talking about for the last 45 minutes?
In previous regimes, obviously under a Sir Alex Ferguson, I think the main word is you would have to say, if we were competitive now and we were in the top four, challenging for a title, you'd leave him out on loan, no problem. Let him develop, let him learn his trade out there. We've seen the likes of like David Beckham went to Preston to toughen him up, and that was all part of the plan to develop him as a footballer. But at the minute, I honestly, I'm not hitting the panic button or anything, but I do think it is quite worrying that we're actually discussing this, because I would say, yeah, bring him back. Why not? Why not give him a try? Throw him in the team. Why not? Central midfield is our huge problem, right? I was speaking to my mate the other day, and he was like, yeah, but the 2 games that I was like, annihilated, Leeds and Newcastle this season. They still walked through us in them games. The Leeds one, for instance, could have been 4-4 very easily. Newcastle, the second half, give it a right good go at Old Trafford. And yes, it was 4-1 at the end of the game, which suggests we've heavily beaten them. We did not have any control over the central midfield of that game. Non-existent. So it's broke. It needs fixing. Why not? You've got a player there again, and I'm going to touch on the fact that, he's come up through the ranks at Manchester United. He knows what it's about to wear the shirt, which for a lot of them Manchester United players, I think it's lost on them. I really do. I think they're wandering around at Manchester United at the minute, and some of them have got their heads set on moves elsewhere and that. And it's, I'm just at that point now where I go, do you know what? If you want to be here, stay, great. But if you don't want to stay for the battle, then just do one, basically.
Adam, your thoughts? I mean, I'll just quickly give mine. I'm not going to go on it too much. I wouldn't bring him back. And my only reason I wouldn't bring him back is I've seen it with the class of 92. You bring them in with Keane and Schmeichel and Bruce, and they'll look after them and they'll give them the right lessons. But had Ince and Keane with him for a couple of years. You bring him into that midfield now, he's going to get players that we've just spent time talking about not being here, telling him what to do, and it could ruin him forever. I think he's at the right place. And every month he's playing football elsewhere, he's going to be a better player to bring back. But on performance today, I can see why Kevin Beth would bring him back. I'd just be worried what we'd do with him.
Yeah, I said it. I tweeted it out before. I'd love to see Jimmy Garner back, but I'd like to see him with the rest of the youth team around him, all on the same page. Because, like you said, Dan is so far off it, and right now it's the worst. We've got some of the best young players in our youth system right now, but the first team is the worst time ever to come through into it for reasons you just said there, mate. It's so disgruntled and so disorganised, and there's so much going on. It's so unfair that a youth team player would be put under that pressure. I mean, look at Greenwood right now. It's like Kev said before, the whipping boy gets subbed off, and he's our best player. And you've got to give Greenwood credit for that, for standing out and actually being our best player against some of the best forwards that have ever walked on the planet. And with the record that they've got, and Greenwood standing out, he cost us nothing. That tells you everything you need to know about a Manchester United mentality. In the midst of a storm, you've got a youth player who's standing out above the rest. Phil Jones did it. You know what I mean? He's been here 10 years. He knows he's working under his 7th manager at Manchester United. Let that sink in. But he knows what it was like. Do you know what I mean? He knows what it was like. Greenwood knows what it is. Unfortunately, Rashford lost it. We hopefully get it back, like Beth said. But for Garner to come in now, I do agree. I'd like to see a whole change. A few of them come in so they can all come in and back each other up. But one on their own, in the midst of this bunch, you'd destroy him. You really would destroy him.
Definitely. I thought I'd had a message about the player there. Look, nice to finish on a positive about Garner. We'll see what happens with him. I think he certainly will end up staying. Some breaking news there. A bit of news about Rangnick's looking to bring in another coach on the touchline. Molly May. Molly May's going to come in. One of the first things she's done. 24 hours in a day, plenty of time to watch videos and train. You can sleep when you're dead. Plenty of time to sleep when you're dead. So yeah, she'd be a good sports psychologist.
I think she'd honestly. They need to use a few more of the 24 hours if they're gutted about going home from training at 5 p.m. I
forgot about that one. We're gutted. It's dark at 5 o'clock. Oh my god!
A lot of these
Manchester.
A lot of these Manchester United players need to look at Molly May and what she's achieved in her life. She's worked her ass off to get where she's got, and she's not slowed down. She's still ripping out them Instagram posts every day. She's still working her ass off, as she says.
Everyone's got 24 hours in a day.
Yeah, we've all got it.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, I've really enjoyed the show. I'm hoping tomorrow night we're going to win so we can just change the record a little bit. I think we're hungry for that. Even if it's just for a few days, like Adam said, because I'm very worried about the Villa game next Saturday. and then the Brentford game, and then the West Ham game after that. I think that I don't see us winning all 4, but we've got plenty of time to talk about that over the next few. I don't see us winning 2, but that's another story. We'll take it game by game. Thanks for coming on, Kev.
Thanks as always. Always a pleasure. Never a chore. Enjoyed that. Interesting debate as always.
It did. It flew by. Beth, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Actually got me a little bit excited for the game tomorrow, but we'll see whether that continues when we actually start to watch it. But yeah, always a great show.
And Adam, thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, no problem. I'm ready for tomorrow. I'll see everyone at Old Trafford, hopefully, talking about a win. I'll take a win. I'll take anything.
Just get in the next round in the cup. Doesn't matter how shit we play, does it?
Middlesbrough. Woohoo!
I tell you what, if he does start Phil Jones, which I bet he won't, and I will leave it on that. I think tomorrow night's team selection, if Harry Maguire starts tomorrow, unfortunately for Harry, he is symbolic of this club's problem, because there's no way he should start tomorrow. And that, to me, just shows that Rangnick's weak, really, if he goes back and just picks him because he's the captain.
Well, yeah.
But if Phil Jones does start, there's possibility of penalties.
The pink
boots, he's coming.
He could be wearing his pink boots.
Imagine he steps on the field with pink boots on.
I'd guarantee.
Imagine he scores the winning penalty in his pink boots, man.
There's no
Goes to change
redemption.
Extra time.
There's your TikTok right there, mate.
He won't never wear pink boots ever again. I guarantee he won't wear them. I don't think he liked that line. Anyway, thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow for a big day of Manchester United action. I suppose that's one thing we can confirm. Speak to you all in a bit. Thanks for watching.